All right, welcome back. Last year, Kenya celebrated 50 years since independence, and that anniversary was marked with a lot of pomp and fare here in Nairobi with foreign heads of state among our visitors. But next week, beginning next week, there is another festival celebrating Kenya's 50 years and cultural diversity happening out there in the United States in Washington, D.C. So we joined in the studio this morning by the project manager of the Kenya delegation going to Washington, D.C., Mrs. Elizabeth Ouma. Miss Elizabeth Ouma. Mrs. Elizabeth Ouma.
Correct.
So I'm not wrong?
No, you're not wrong.
Okay. Nowadays, you have to be careful. All right, welcome to the studio. And of
Thank
course,
you.
Motegi Njau, my colleague here. Let me start seems like something is going on out there, big in many ways, but a lot of Kenyans don't seem to know about it. What is the genesis of this Smithsonian Folklife Festival that is coming to happen? Give us just an overview.
Thank you very much for having me and for the opportunity to share the information. As you're aware, as you rightly say it, there are many people who don't know about it. And to simplify it, Kenya Smithsonian Folklife Festival is a rather big mouthful. So let's refer to this program as Kenya Mambo Poa.
Yes.
That is the title of our program.
Okay.
The Smithsonian Folklife Festival is a festival that happens once a year in Washington, D.C. It is organized by the Smithsonian Institution, which, to put it loosely, is the equivalent of our National Museums of Kenya network. It is a national museum network of the United States. They have a section whose responsibility is actually to share world cultures with the many visitors who come to Washington during the summer as tourists, both American and non-American tourists. Now, this festival has been going on this is going to be the 48th edition of that festival. The genesis of our participation, is to do with the fact that Kenya has had a very long-standing relationship with the Smithsonian Institution. Mm-hmm. The National Museums of Kenya, for example, has had a 30-year-long relationship with the Smithsonian Institution on various areas of research, including areas of research in the search for human origins. We also have a long-standing relationship between the Smithsonian Institution and Kenya Wildlife Service.
Okay.
Currently, there's a tripartite agreement that between the National Museum, the Kenya Wildlife Service, and the Smithsonian Institution that runs a research station at Mpala in Laikipia. So the relationship with the institution is a long one.
Right.
Therefore, it came as a bit natural to the Smithsonian to invite Kenya to participate in the Folklife Festival. That was way back in 2011. Mm-hmm. And late in 2011, we signed the Memorandum of Understanding, then the Government of Kenya and the Smithsonian Institution. That was followed up with the legal financial agreement, which was signed in March of 2012. Since then, we have been working on preparations to now stage the festival, the Kenya program at the festival, starting next week, Wednesday. It will run for 10 days and end on the 6th of July.
So what do you do apart from this? Makali has not told us. Let you explain who you are.
Okay.
Well, yes. Well, I know you to be the project manager of this project,
Yes,
taking Kenyans to the Smithsonian. But what do you do? I know that you work at the National Museums or something, but
Okay, I'm actually an employee of the National Museums of Kenya. Yeah. And I am seconded to the Ministry of Sports, Culture and the Arts, previously the Ministry of Culture and National Heritage, to project manage, just to manage this project, to make sure that we participate in the festival in the best way we can as a country. And then once that is complete, my secondment comes to an end and I go back to the National Museum.
All right, so what is happening there? What is the Folklife Festival all about? What is going to be happening there?
The Folklife Festival is, it's really a celebration of living culture. what happens on the mall is the representatives of Kenya who are bearers of culture at the moment, masters in their own way, in their own methods of cultural expression, will be on the National Mall in Washington, D.C., sharing their knowledge, skills, and appreciation of themselves with the rest of the world. It really is very different from the manner in which quite often when we want to promote Kenya, we take a couple of Maasai people, put them up as part of the attraction. Now, the difference between that and this is that in this case, if it is a person who is a master beadworker, they're sitting in a space, interacting with people, sharing their understanding and their knowledge of that which they do very well, which is beadwork.
Right.
What the colors mean, what the patterns mean, why is it important in their lives? How does it change their lives in terms of wealth creation? Is it part of a culture in terms of how are they used in, say, rites of passage? How are they used in? How is it used in expressions in terms of adornment? And how does that adornment make a statement within society? How does it make people feel good about themselves? So it's very deep.
So in a nutshell, this is going to be an expression of Kenyan culture and way of life.
Correct.
And who are going to be our exponents? Who are going? There's a lot of musicians, stonemasons and all manner of people. Just who is actually on the delegation going there?
We have a contingent of about 135 persons traveling, and the people who are going range from musicians to bead workers, to Swahili plaster workers, to Swahili boat builders, wood carvers, soapstone carvers, bead workers from different communities around the country, hair braiders, henna painters, embroiders. I mean, it is just not possible within the budgets available to represent the depth of diversity in cultural expression in this country.
Right.
But on the mall, we will share as much as we can of what we consider our national gems in cultural expression.
Some names?
You have talked about, okay, names.
Some names, because if I remember, it was in the news the other day, the guy in Kisii was preparing this huge thing that was to be transported to the US. I forget his name. So who, some people, famous people we know who are going there, perhaps, representing us?
Depends on how you call.
Apart from the musicians whom we some of whom we know.
It depends on what you define as famous. But Elkanah Ongesa is one of the best we have in the country. In fact, he's an internationally renowned sculptor. And he will be on the mall to demonstrate and to talk about his work and life as a sculptor, and to share with the world the inspiration he has shared with a very large community of people in Kisii who have now turned soapstone carving into an economy. And he has actually, in that way, transformed very many lives. But when you're talking about fame, the person who is the master basket weaver from Kathiani in the village is a lady called Grace Ndindi.
Yes, she must be famous in that neighborhood.
In that neighborhood,
yes,
she's famous for her work. And if you're asking for the best basket weaver, they'll direct you to Ndindi.
Yes, yes.
So these are the people who will be representing this country. They may be unknown to the larger
but as long as they're the experts,
but they're the experts
people who are good
in what they do.
In presenting that.
And you, what is the criteria of choosing them? How did you come to say these are the ones to go?
The process of selection was a very long research curated by a technical group of anthropologists represented from the National Museums of Kenya, researchers from the Kenya Wildlife Service, and joined in by our partners from the Smithsonian Institution. And there was a countrywide exercise, entering communities at very grassroots level and talking to them to find out who are the best of their culture bearers, and allowing them to nominate the persons they feel will be best at representing them in the various areas.
Do you have people who are making pots?
Yes, we have people who are making pots.
Do not talk about money. You said budget. Who is paying for this?
The government of Kenya is paying for this. The government of Kenya created an interministerial steering committee together with an interministerial technical committee. So various government departments and ministries are involved in putting together this program. The most important line ministries in this case include the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and International Trade, the Ministry of East Africa Commerce and Tourism, the Ministry of Devolution and Planning, particularly in the area of youth, and the Ministry of Environment with the conservation message, because part of the festival we'll be pushing the agenda of conservation of our environment very, very strongly.
So what do we intend to achieve by going there, taking that contingent of 100 people to Washington DC? How do I, as Mutegi Njau, living in this country, benefit? Because that's my money taking you there. How do I benefit?
What we are doing with this particular festival is placing Kenya on an international platform to send the message out there that there is so much to this country, much more than people know. So the first of our agendas is to improve on our national image, to get people to understand that there's a lot more depth to the country than what is in the press. Unfortunate incidents like that which happened earlier this week are, yes, unfortunate incidents, but there's much more to the country if you look just at the cultural diversity and the people and the way in which we are resilient, versatile, people who are innovative, creators of things, simple things that change lives and transform society. So that depth of ourselves is a very important ingredient in driving people's perception of what our country is like, and therefore our national image.
Because the reason I'm asking this, because we are going there because we're invited by the Institute. It is not our own way of doing things. Why can't we do that thing here? Why do we have to go and show it to the rest of the world before we show it to ourselves?
Yes.
Well, I think we show it to ourselves every day because we live it.
But we have not.
But we haven't had what Mutegi is saying is we haven't had a festival to celebrate our cultures in the manner and style that is going to be done in Washington. One would expect that to do, of course, do such a thing here, which hasn't now. That boils down back to your work at the National Museums of Kenya. Why is the National Museum like that bringing this for us? Collage of cultures together for us to celebrate at Uhuru Park? Because where you're going in the US is like Uhuru Park or some sort of place like that. Why are we not doing that in Kenya?
Well, I think a lot of that has been happening. Yes. It's just that quite often we underrate our own efforts. Just last weekend, there was a very large festival on the eastern shores of Lake Turkana, the Desert Festival.
Yes, the Turkana
and it brings together a very large number of communities that live in that part of Kenya. And that is a really large festival. And it is in very similar pattern to what we are describing for the Kenya Mambo program. The Lamu Cultural Festival is also a very important festival. It has become, in fact, an important festival on international calendar of cultural festivals. People mark on their calendar to come to the Lamu Festival.
Liz, that is true. That is true.
We have them. The Mombasa Festival is happening in a few weeks.
Yes, but we haven't had the national festival that brings us together. You see, the Lamu Festival is about the coastal Lamu culture. And you know, Lamu is a historical site. When you go to Turkana, the one that happened in Loyangalani last week, which was attended by the DP, was about the Turkana cultural, issues and lifestyle. We have not had a national one, which brings the Turkana, the Kamba, the Luya, the coastal culture to Nairobi.
Getting an example from Smithsonian Institute or institution, then you do it at the National Museum or the Kenya Wildlife Service for everybody.
To come and experience the diversity and, and enjoy it.
Okay, a couple of things that need to be corrected.
Yes.
The Loyangalani Festival is not about the Turkana. There is at least 12 ethnic communities in that region.
Around there. The communities around the Samburu and so on. But it's still pretty much provincial as in local, all right? It's not national yet.
No. It certainly doesn't. I will concede that it is not.
I think perhaps that's food for thought going into the future. Is something, because we would like to see something of that caliber that is on the scale of the national drama festivals or the national music festivals. Exactly. But now that is outside the education institutions, that is just a national celebration of our culture. Perhaps the 47 counties represented in that kind of festival, which would probably generate something like that.
It certainly is food for thought.
Yeah, but is the question then to ask is Kenya really going to capitalize on this opportunity? Are we prepared to go and capitalize on that? Because we have Frankfurt Tourism Fest. We take our staff there. You said we take a few people representing the Maasai culture there. That is it. This looks like a bigger, huge thing. Are we prepared to exploit that opportunity properly?
We are. On this platform, we are going to be promoting the tourism in this country. On the same platform, we shall have as an event associated with the festival, the Trade and Investment Conference, a Trade and Investment Conference. So we'll be talking about the trade opportunities, investment opportunities that are available in this country to the wide range of potential investors and trade partners that are in Washington at the time.
In fact, it's good you're venturing into that. I would like to really hear what is going to happen in terms of program. Okay. What are the scheduled activities there?
All right.
So that if somebody is here and they will be in Washington, they can go. Or if somebody knows somebody in Washington or traveling there, can attend.
Yes.
So this is what's going to happen there.
Okay. The festival, it runs for 10 days. And it is, to just give you perspective, it's an open air exhibition on a space that covers, say, about the area of about maybe four football fields. So it's a large area. And in that area, there will be the persons I just described, the craft bearers that I just described, the musicians, the people demonstrating culinary arts and so on. The program runs in such a way that there are different things happening in that space throughout the day for 10 days. So for example, there are 2 performance stages. There's a big concert stage, which we are calling the Ngoma stage. Now, the Ngoma stage is a stage on which musical performances, storytelling, dances will happen throughout the day. So what is scheduled on that stage is a performance every hour, starting from 10 o'clock in the morning to 5:30 in the evening. At no point is that stage empty. The smaller stage, which is we are calling it the Chewy stage, that is an area where we will have more intimate performances. For example, where we have a master of a specific instrument, or a person with a skill and has the depth and charisma to demonstrate and invite people into a workshop situation. There we shall have demonstration performances with different persons scheduled every hour. So at no point is that empty. Okay, so that is in terms of performance. So at any time, it's the kind of, the program is in such a way that any visitor entering,
it's performance and exhibition
throughout
of art, culture,
of art and culture throughout for 10 days.
And you have a huge complement of musicians. I've seen, like,
yes.
How big is this delegation? Who is on? I see Wazez, John Zenze, our legends, James Akwabi, you know, a lot of
Peter Akwabi.
Peter Akwabi. Who are the others?
Well, we've got about the music contingent is about 45 persons.
45 groups.
45 persons. Yes. We have on it teams who are going to perform dances, and others who are going to be, you know, backup musicians. But some of the people who would be traveling include, as you rightly say, John Zanze, Peter Akwabi, we have Eric Wainaina, Susanna Owiyo, we have Makadem Winyo, Kadir Kotola, the Gargar group, we Bado,
Eastern Central.
I can't remember all of them.
Musaimo.
Who's
Chumba, Rift Valley.
Chumba, Nyota Ndogo.
Yeah.
There's there's a lot of people. I think we also have.
Okay, the musicians you are taking.
Yes.
Are what I would call. They're not contemporary. Okay, they're not hip hop musicians. You mumechuja wasanii wa macelebs. Jagwa haendi, Nonini hayuko, Juakali. Mmeenda na watu ambao wanacheza.
Why do you want to bring
that's not Kenyan music.
Why do you bring my classmate Peter Akwabi, who sang in the 60s and is no longer there? Why not the population of
what are you trying to demonstrate here?
What is the point?
What is the objective?
Well, Akwabi is a personification of our musical heritage.
So you are taking history there, not
certainly
history, not
certainly
legacy,
not
contemporary.
Yeah,
but we are also taking artistry.
Yes.
If you look at the specific musicians we are talking about, the festival, by its nature and description, requires performance, not playback.
Right.
We cannot have on it playback music. Why? Because it needs to be a demonstration of particular skill. Now, when the bass player is playing his guitar, the audience has the right to stop the music and ask him to play a solo and explain why he gets and how he gets the sound that he's producing. Right? Now, in a playback situation, all you can do is listen. Here, John Zenze will be required to stop and talk to the people and explain what inspired the lyrics for his classical songs that we know so well. And how is it that he plays his guitar with the pluck motion as opposed to the strum motion? And how did he learn that? So it's not music for music's sake.
It's experiential.
It needs to be experiential. It is something that has to be.
I don't understand. I don't follow music very much. But what are you saying? That the so-called celebs cannot do that?
Many of, and I'm not taking away from their talent.
Yes.
Many of our present day musicians, if you did give them an instrument to play, many of them cannot.
They can only sing.
They can only sing. And they can play, they sing to a track that is probably computer generated. Now this is, here we are talking about the art of music composition, arrangement and production.
And message.
and the message of it. And many of our older classical, the classical Benga musicians, the Akwabis and so on, John Zenzes. John Zenze to this day still teaches people how to do these kinds of music. In fact, I was making my children laugh this morning and saying that what works well at that festival is what they would consider shao, to use their words.
Yes, yes. We're going for what is truly authentic, what is truly Kenyan.
Exactly.
From the ground, not urbanized improvisation, so to speak.
Correct.
Okay, but the festival is happening, but there's also another country that is going to share the stage, as far as I can tell, called China. Is there any relationship that we're going to have there? Is there a shared stage? Or there are going to be distinct events happening? China on the other side, Kenya on the other side, over that period?
To a large extent, yes. They're actually quite separate. Because the team that worked with China to produce the China program is totally independent. It's the same institution, but the team was totally independent from that which worked on the Kenya program. So the two have very few, if any, connection points or points of overlap. So they will do their program and we'll do our program. It's the same space, but different sections.
How do you know? What assurance can you have that there will be no joyriders? We know Kenyans habit. Sometimes you have a sports event and you have a lot of people going, like 100 people. So some of them, instead of appearing there every hour, like you said, they'll go on the carouse and not show up. What guarantee, what way are you giving us to know that they will be there? They will not be shopping and they will not be drinking.
Well, the contingent, the Kenyan contingent, is very well prepared. And
you may be prepared but not show up.
The terms of participation have been made very, very clear. Many of the selected participants have actually signed agreements with committing to stick to the program and be on the program as stipulated, and to be as disciplined, a good ambassador of the country as possible.
People are very difficult to manage abroad.
There are actually 140, you said one? The delegation is, of course, some are officials, others are the representatives performing, right?
100. Those people are difficult to manage.
Well,
they're not that many. The Olympic delegation
is quite often much bigger. And
you see, the difference is Olympic, there are certain targets, measurable. Here, I don't think whether there are any measurable targets and accomplishments that will measure what we have done and what punishment is there if you didn't do it.
For an achievement.
Yeah, exactly.
I like that.
Mutegi, I think we ought to accept that when people are bestowed the honor of representing their country, the average Kenyan takes that very seriously. And you will be surprised by the level of commitment and self-sacrifice we have seen from those selected, coming up front with ideas, contributions, and even suggestions of how to make this particular festival a success. It has renewed my belief in the ability of Kenyans to step up to the plate and represent this country in the manner in which it should be done. You will be surprised that a good majority do not need policing. They have been showing up for their rehearsals when they need to show up. They have been practicing, they have been preparing, and they have kept every deadline that we have given to them in terms of presenting their material, in terms of preparing their travel paperwork. It is surprising.
All right.
So we don't need
Yes.
to have.
We just hope that they'll be disciplined
You know,
ambassadors of the country, and they'll not show up one day, and then the rest of the 10 days they're wanakula happy.
Yeah.
I think you will be surprised how disciplining honor bestowed upon an individual becomes. Responsibility in itself.
We have to conclude this, but there are two questions which address the gist of our discussion. One is somebody has taken issue with your assertion that you took only old generation musicians or expressions that are different from the current contemporary. Somebody says, he says, I was with you till the statement that the urban Kenyan music people can only sing. The singing and rapping is a cultural expression of Kenyans, and I know that they can defend their story. Somebody says you should have included the Kenyan rap, younger guys as well. Celebs, what we call.
Well, I'm not sure about the...
That they represent Kenyan culture, if at all contemporary.
Rapping is not Kenyan culture. It's about
well, urban culture. Culture is what we live. And there's a defense that those guys are actually living that culture.
Rapping is
it's
not
it's happening in our urban areas.
Borrowed.
You don't think that is... what is your response to that?
What we don't want to do, to put it very plainly, is go on a platform and attempt to do what others do better than us.
Yes.
I see.
I like the answer.
I'm taking his content with that.
I am very happy
We are
with
taking rap to the Americans.
Yes,
where it
where they
originated.
came
That is
from.
not Kenyan, right?
That's not Kenyan.
Shared agreement, shared viewpoint there. But finally, and more reasonably put, is this one. Yes, we might end up exposing our culture and selling it to the West, who might take it and patent it.
Yeah.
Very serious. Intellectual property, taking our creativity, our cultural ways to our platform where there'll be poachers.
Like they did the lesson.
Right from the beginning, I did say that there was a legal agreement between that institution and the government of Kenya. Now, the legal agreement outlines very clearly what can and cannot be appropriated by either party.
Well, it's not about the Smithsonian institution that is helping or partnering with Kenya. It is that we're going to put it in this platform here, where we have exposed Kenya's cultural, creative potential or capabilities, and there are people who are coming here to poach, look at how this thing is made, then they go and make it, perhaps better if it requires better technology, and then they patent it and bring it back to the world as theirs. As theirs. What is the protection we have against that?
The protection we have is the International Conventions on Intellectual Property Rights. And Kenya is very seriously looking at matters relating to patenting of what would be intellectual property in the area of indigenous knowledge. And to that extent, the country works very seriously at all UNESCO forums to ensure that we protect. In fact, I think we have contested the patenting of the Kiondo, because it is indigenous knowledge, so cannot be patented out there.
All right, I think, Liz, we have to leave it at that. Somebody has sent, perhaps should cap up our discussion. Somebody, Judith Thuo from Kiambu says, that's well-articulated issue. All the best, madam. I represent Kenya well.
Thank you very much. We'll do our best.
That's it for our breakfast interview today. The Smithsonian Folklife Festival happening in Washington, D.C. from 25th to 29th, and I think from 2nd to 6th of July. If you're in the Washington area or traveling to the U.S., you can join that celebration. If you're out there watching us, be there and get a taste of what Kenya offers culturally, artistically, musically. Thank you for watching.